You're looking at IBS like an attempt saver. Okay, this is going to save your attempt. Now, there are two perspectives. You feel you're slightly underprepared. You are not so confident because you might not have a good idea of all the subjects. But the reality is, this is the only paper which gives you extra 1 hour, which gives you access to use the books. You understand this? Same marks, right? Same marks, extra access to books. If you're smart, you'll understand this. I'm telling you only, it's a very idiotic way to be scared about this when books are being given. Because a lot of times, what were you worried about previous exam? Whether I'll remember or not. Whenever some intervention comes into picture, you're only worried about whether you'll remember or not. This time, what is your excuse? Time is not sufficient. 1 extra hour. What is your excuse? You think about it. What are you, when you are worried? You need to understand why are you worried, right? So when you have extra time, and when you have access to memory in terms of however or whatever you can carry, what is your excuse to worry about? So if you're slightly worried, even if you're slightly worried, even if you're stressed, if you're not able to stay calm, there is no point in going to the exam. I'm very clear about it because the nature of the exam, the nature of the question says it will make you stressed, and most importantly, it will force you to think. This is not a clerical exam for you to carry and keep searching for answers which you do not understand the questions for. This is not a clerical exam. Please understand, this is clearly a thinking exam. So much before that, it is an attempt saver. This is coming in the form of saving your attempt. You embrace it, you'll understand it. Slightly, with a slight amount of stress, your possibilities will go here and there. Okay, this is the first and foremost thing which you have to clearly understand. Next, this is very important. This is very, very important. It is a test of your thinking. IBS tests your thinking. It doesn't, what is there in searching? You're not applying for a clerical job, right? What, like to copy paste? Once you search, once you think and identify, of course, yes, you can locate and then copy and paste. But it is not just copy and paste, right? There is something more to this. I hope you understand the nature of the exam. It's not like the first year articled ability in some form. That is not what they're looking at. They're looking at the ability of a chartered accountant. Definitely, they're not looking to see whether you can copy and paste. So stop thinking in those lines. I hope you understand this. This is very important. Now, when it comes to searching, let's say now that we understand, when it comes to searching, you may not be able to score more only through searching. So there is an element of thinking. So thinking, the advantage of thinking is faster than searching. Why? Thinking is here. Searching is in, let's say there are 4 hard disks. Now, if you have to find a file on your phone, what is faster? If you have to send something from your phone to someone, or you attach a hard disk 1, hard disk 2, hard disk 3, hard disk 4, and hard disk is a black box. You don't know where is what, right? You don't know, files are not segregated. In your phone, the gallery is very clear. There are pictorial evidences in your phone. You can send our system from that system. So this is the difference between thinking and searching. You don't know where it is what. So when it is readily available, focus and trust your thinking. This is exactly, you have written 5 exams or 2 exams already based on your thinking alone. So why are you suddenly becoming doubtful of yourself, especially for the subjects? So don't get greedy. Do not get greedy just because there is a book. Book is a trap. Please understand. You fail because of books. I'm telling you, you have better possibilities of clearing the exam without books. Nobody will have the courage to do it. Probably next attempt will make them understand it in a far more clear way and send without books. We can claim what we're talking about. But you have better possibility by finding answers with thinking than searching. Now this is about understanding the nature. Now I'll also tell you the time correlation between this. Uh, Time, yes, you understand it is important, but one thing which is not clearly discussed is your calmness. If you're rushing, if you're being random, you'll get 0. So I hope you saw the certified corpus. Now, same amount of content, somebody got 12, somebody got 28, somebody got 42. There are 3 papers with the same content, right? Same amount of paper, same content. So you scribbling something randomly, and everybody had access to books. Nobody is a superior here. Everybody had access to books. Everybody carries the same suitcase. But why is somebody getting 12 and 28? The problem is not in searching. The problem is thinking. So when you have to think, calmness is extremely important. You have to think from a very, very calm, composed sense of mind. So while you're approaching the exam, before you land into the exam center, all you have to do is only calmness. Putting extra 2 stickers or finding that extra book is absolutely useless. So focus on yourself. Exam is for you. Exam is not for your books. Please understand this. So you have to Become calm, and you have to approach this in a certain way. This is about your calmness, and everybody has something to work upon. This is the very basic breakup. Now, something will go here and there, but you can definitely rely upon. Very simply, 3 papers is equal to 50 marks, 2 papers is equal to 40 marks, extra 2 papers is equal to 30 marks. Sometimes SPOM will slightly increase, that's okay, because you're looking at 100-mark paper, not 125. So when you look at it from the 100 perspective, the division is more or less this way. So 5 is to 4 is to 3, roughly. So which I'm trying to tell you is, you're either prepared for group 1 or group 2. So it doesn't matter which group you are not prepared, because you have advantage for almost 60-70% of the marks. This is about it. For SPM also, even if you're not prepared, you're carrying the books. And these are 2 books which largely come from ICA sources, and you don't have to worry much, because it is easy to locate as compared to something in 5 modules, as compared to this 1 module, which you have a reasonably good index. This is about it. And it is important for you to know what you do not know. Only search what you do not know. Do not search what you know. Only search what you do not know. And here you have to do with optimism, not pessimism. If you do with pessimism, you'll end up searching everything. So somebody who optimized this, somebody has scored 64 by optimizing, only searching what they do not know, still they couldn't complete the paper. Now you understand, if you search everything, what will happen to the number of marks. If you're not attempting 100 marks, most likely your paper is gone. When I say 100, it will come down to 95, 90, plus or minus 10 here and there, because the quality in the last 1 hour might go for a toss. But if you're attempting 80 or 60, you understand what it is, right? Because descriptive, their expectation is more. Let's say in some other papers, you write a stepwise marking, it is there. IBS also, it will be there, but you write 3 steps, you don't expect that kind of marks, because the expectation is different. So definitely you have to complete the paper. Next, number 1, in terms of principles, minutes is equal to marks. Not your books, not your knowledge. Minutes, your marks. What is the exam of IBS? You're converting time into marks. Time into marks. So time is extremely important. And this is a rough breakup. I'm removing 15 minutes for normal loss, transition time, OMR filling, your name, writing, everything. Remove that 15 minutes. So when you have 240 minutes, each case study have 50 minutes. And we are given a transition time and review time of 10 minutes, so that you can bubble in the right OMR. And you're not supposed to, because last time I believe IC deducted marks for people who bubble all the 5. So don't do any of that. Specific. Let's say there is a chance that you write 1, 2, and 3 you missed it, but when you're bubbling in the OMR, you might write 3 in a sequential order. So be very careful about bubbling the right thing. So that will take the 15 minutes. So 15 minutes is what you have for case study. Now, what happens in this 15 minutes? So one is the denominator approach. You'll get 2 minutes for each mark, which means by default 20 minutes for MCQ and 30 minutes for descriptive. This is very easy to think. First of all, a lot of students make a mistake here itself. They don't even give 20 minutes for MCQ. Minimum 20 minutes has to be given. Minimum 20 minutes has to be given. I'm not telling maximum 20 minutes, minimum. You'll understand the next slides. This is a breakup of the case scenario, right? Now, case scenario 1, okay? You're given 20 minutes. You scored 8 marks. So, per minute, you're getting 2.5 marks. This is case scenario number 1, where you scored 8 marks in MCQs. And then, for the rest of the things, in the first bit, 5, 5, 5, let's say one bit took 10 minutes, 15 minutes is for the subject which you don't know, and another bit took 10 minutes. Here you got 2, here you got 1, here you got 3. So 6 is what you can expect normally in a worst case scenario. In that scenario, if you look at it, for the total marks per minute, where in MCQ it is only taking 2.5 marks per minute, minutes per mark. Here it is taking 6 minutes per mark comparatively. And please understand, descriptive, getting 30 is not easy. Getting 30 in descriptive is not very, very easy. When I wrote this 24, it is a representative mark. This is one scenario. Now, if you think it is too optimistic for MCQs, let's look at the other scenario. Here you are scoring only 6. Okay? In MCQs, you're only scoring 6. Here you are scoring 7 marks in descriptive. Descriptive score is more than MCQ score. Even then, even when you score 6 in descriptive, it's still 3.3 minutes per mark as compared to 5 minutes. So even in the best case scenario, even when you assume that you write the descriptive in just 30 minutes, which will normally take a lot longer, even assuming that you're scoring 50% of the marks, 7.5 in descriptive, still you're taking 40% more time relatively for descriptive for nothing. So don't be an idiot in terms of not understanding how the time works. Your opportunity for this is to maximize your score. The score, there is a high possibility that you can score more in 40 marks of MCQ as compared to 60 marks of descriptive. This is a very, very, very high likely scenario, high likely possibility. The reason being, the MCQ standard for IBS as compared to your individual subject MCQs is relatively lesser than what you get in the subjective. Descriptive question standard is less. Answer expectation from a descriptive standard is higher. So the marking will be very different. So don't play yourself into a self goal. You understanding? Now I'll give you one practical example. This is yesterday's audit paper. Now yesterday audit paper, if you are worrying why we are in this, this is what we did 1 hour before the exam for interest. Normally we don't touch, but once we identify a gap, we realize it's not about holding the confidence. It is more about telling you the right thing at the right time. There are 3 students who wrote your audit, 22, 24, 26. Not because of the subject, not because of the subject, purely because of the approach. Elimination, substitution, and all of that has been followed. This is for people whose audit subject is here and there. They're not completely confident, it's slightly here and there because of the approach which we focused upon, and most importantly, the time sense. One important thing is they were allowed to write MCQs for 1 hour. Now, the score which they got in 1 hour, they wouldn't score in 2 hours also. Hope you understand audit. So I don't really look at them scoring 24 or 26 in 2 hours of audit. So please be smart enough to know time is your currency. Per hour, how much more you can score. This is one option. I'll also show you another paper. Again, this is not to be critical, but if you're not understanding what is the right approach, if you're focusing more on descriptive, this is the paper of a final student who couldn't attempt MCQs. This is a crime. In search of writing more answers in descriptive, couldn't even attempt MCQs. Do you think what will happen to the paper? You understand this, right? So same approach. Now, in terms of knowledge, this person has more knowledge. But in terms of the approach, this is what you have to clearly understand. So don't be that foolish in terms of missing out on the core elements of the marks in the search of this. Normally what happens is the first descriptive question, out of excitement, you'll end up writing for half an hour for that 5 marker or 4 marker. Do not do that, okay? Please keep this in mind. This is extremely, extremely, extremely important. Got this? Understood? So ruthlessly prioritize MCQs. Ruthlessly. I'm telling you, if you can invest 2 hours and if you can get 28 to 30, do that. Doesn't matter. It's not about 20 minutes. I'm not talking about 20 minutes. If you can attempt, put, like, you look at it, 160 minutes, which is almost 2.5 hours. If you can score 30 plus in 2.5 hours, do it. Why not? I'm saying it in the extreme scenario. You won't do it, you cannot do it. You don't do it, you cannot do it. But don't be in a mad rush to finish MCQs for the heck of it. You are going and writing MCQ paper. If something is left out, that is when you are writing descriptive. MCQs, descriptive you know, then descriptive you don't know. 100 marks, 40 marks of MCQ. MCQ you know, you don't know, that doesn't matter. Because elimination, substitution, and then search. Elimination, substitution, search. 3 options are available. 40 marks is sorted. Remaining 60 marks are descriptive. Based on whatever you have. Based on whatever you have, whether it's group 1 or group 2 advantage, you can score 30, you can write 30 marks properly. So 30 marks of paper based on your strength. It's going to score 10 to 12. Remaining 30 marks is what you have to search. You're understanding? So restrict the search and seizure operations for only 1 hour, 1.5 hour. Technically, it doesn't happen in single stretch. You're understanding? 70 marks is already in control. Whatever you prepared, 70 marks is in your control. So this is exactly how we are focusing. A lot of people do it the other way around. First, they end up searching what they do not know for third. The 30 marks will take almost 1.5 to 2 hours. They lose confidence. The 30 marks won't even give them 6 to 8 marks in the denominator and numerator. And then they'll come to the descriptive and then they'll focus on the MCQs, which is a gone case. You're understanding? You're going for the MCQ paper. Then you're writing what you know. Then you're focusing on what you do not know. This is exactly how you have to go. And this 15 minutes, the first 15 minutes, it's a very counterintuitive approach. All of you would have got a table. Like we also see, we'll talk about the table. This is a very good strategy, but I'm telling you what is better. First 5 minutes, process case study 5. First 5 minutes, process case study 5. You might think, what if that is the case study which I do not know? Last case study, pura, see that. Because you are living in a world of randomness. This 1.5 day, no matter however try to optimize, it's super random. In the next 5 minutes, it becomes random. Your mind is chaotic, cluttered, it is running all over the place. And once you go into the exam hall, it gets far more creepy. Especially, you may not get a bench, somebody might be fighting for the space. A lot of unnecessary things are happening which are not linked to the subject. So you have to realign your mind onto a very focused space. So this is to realign your focus. Realign your focus. That does not matter whether you know the case study or not. First 5 minutes, you're making your mind think in a straight line. It only takes 5 minutes, right? You open descriptive. When I say process, I'll make it very detailed. Identify the subject and topic. Subject, topic, subject, topic, subject, topic. Done. And then 2 to 3 words for descriptive. 2 to 3 words for descriptive. MCQ, eliminate 2 options. If the examiner, sometimes the invigilator, if he's not allowing you to write, which is a fair thing, you think in that lines. That's it. Identify or cross, whatever works. If the pencil is allowed, that's fine. But respect the rules. Don't do anything that the invigilator says otherwise. So in your mind, you're looking at this one particular question. Don't look at the case study. Look at the question. Think about it. Which question? Think about it. 1 2 words. 1 2 words. 1 2 words. Eliminate 2 options. 5 minutes. It's processed. Done. Dusted. Over and out. Then switch to the subject matrix table. Now, subject matrix table, there are multiple ways. A lot of people do one table for each case scenario. MCQ, descriptive, that is there. But this is a singular screen which will help you to take right decisions. Here, what you can do, let's say case scenario 1, FR, 2 marks for MCQ. So here, how you can operate is FR, 2 marks for MCQ. You write 2 plus. Later in descriptive, you find a 3 marker. 3, that's it. AFM, nothing is there. Up 2 MCQ plus 4 in descriptive. So this is how it is, 2 plus 4, break up. So you can quickly identify. So when you look at the table, once it is filled, it is very easy for you to know what is that FR part. This is in a single stretch, it is coming. The other tables, but decision making won't work. Here it is very simple and straightforward. 2 plus 3, break up, very clear. Okay, so you do this in 10 minutes. 10 minutes enough because case study 5 is already done. Case study 5 is already done. Here, just quickly look at it, right. Look at it, right. Here, if it takes 5 more minutes, let it be. Instead of 10 minutes, if it takes 5 more minutes, let it be. 10 more minutes, let it be. Let's say here, if you feel after 2 case studies, you find it exhausting, then stop it there. Within the 3, choose one and write. Right? Because the focus is on increasing your numerator. The focus is on increasing your numerator, right? At any given point of time, you have to constantly increase the numerator. So don't get too much stuck in the procedural aspects. The first 5 minutes, you're directly getting into action, processing. Processing is the most important thing. Then writing. So if you can finish table in 10 to 15 minutes, finish it off. Otherwise, the same approach. We'll write the exam in 2 hours and 2 hours. First 2 hours, you're looking at 3 case studies and finishing 2, both completely. And then you can look at it at a later point of time. This is understood? Clear? Any questions until this point? And quick pointers. Now create a comparative table. This is one. This will help you to choose the order of case studies and decide what needs to be eliminated. Map the paragraph in the case study to individual MCQ. Now you decided the case study. Once you start attending, so initially you already looked at the questions. Questions are sorted. Now quickly have a look at the question and jump to the case study. Look at the question and jump to the case study. While you are looking at the case study in paragraphs, just like the way I identified the question, identify the paragraph. SEM, audit, identify the paragraph. So there are 3 things which you are working upon. Question, paragraph, your mind. Question, paragraph, your mind. If something can be solved at this level, solve it. If it is not enough, then look at the book, right? First is the question. Next is your mind. Next is the paragraph. This is the order in terms of solving. So the less options you use. If you look at the question, I can write it directly. Fantastic. There are some direct questions. And if you look at the question and you have to think lightly and process lightly and write it, good. Slightly getting the case study context, especially for audit. Audit, you have to go to the case study context. Write it, right. Something is left out, search and write. Done. Okay, clear? Now, when you're opening the book, let's say for audit, as we wrote our FR, one is MCQ and one is descriptive. 2 plus 6 marks, 8 marks is there. Make sure you do that subject entirely. Both the MCQ and that R2 descriptive are there. Do not open it and then flip and close.